it follows that the so-called marriage is void. Can't exist. Because it ain't a male and a female. Cannot exist. The question don't exist, Mr. Speaker. For the purposes of English law, the same conclusion was reached by the House of Lords in Beringer and Beringer. Lord Nichols, with whom those members of the House of Lords, so forth and so on, he listed them, and they quote, "Marriage is an institution or relationship deeply embedded in religious, and social culture of a country. It is deeply embedded in the relationship between two persons of the opposite sex, Mr. Speaker. The opposite sex, Mr. Speaker. Close quote, Mr. Speaker. He goes on, I do not consider either case justifies the member for Marco City's concerns. First, in either case that he referred to, the English European Union cases, concerned the interpretation of the word sex, which premise, and I'm quoting, excited Mr. Moore's suggestion that you allow the courts to have the jurisdiction to interpret that, and as the courts are satisfied that the societal norms have changed, it will reinterpret that and will open the door to same-sex marriage and the rest. He's quoting from his Hansard. Secondly, neither case was concerned with the denial or claim to marry advanced on the basis that such denial constituted discrimination on the ground or attributable to sexual orientation. Thirdly, each case was concerned not with same-sex marriage, that is between a man and a woman or a woman and a man, but marriages between a man and a woman only, the only issue being constituted a woman for the purposes of the marriage, which means that they had tried to change sex. It should be noted, incidentally, that transsexuals who wish to marry will be a small part of the population. Now, the final paragraph. I therefore consider that notwithstanding the well-known injunction to construe fundamental rights provisions in the Constitution with a generous interpretation, avoiding what has been called the austerity of tabulated legalism, suitable to give the individual the full measure of the fundamental rights and freedoms referred to. And he quotes the Minister of Home Affairs. Unless, and this is the critical part here, Mr. Deputy, unless and until, if ever, the Bahamian legislature choose to enact laws legitimizing same-sex marriages, such marriages will not be recognized as law in the Bahamas. And that's the end of it, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, we are inserting, Mr. Speaker, we are inserting behind sex, meaning male and female, the definition. That in and of itself, Mr. Speaker, really should help to support the concern that Marco City has. Because we are putting that in, we are not leaving any interpretation that sex means anything other than that. So you cannot define or interpret or whatever you want to do with male and female to come up with sexual orientation. That's the point. So in fact, Mr. Speaker, I would invite the member for Marco City to now understand and accept that in fact, this insertion supports and helps his concern. And at this point, Mr. Speaker, I want to give thanks to the late Dr. Miles Monroe, Mr. Speaker. I want to give thanks to the late Dr. Miles Monroe because it was him and the group of lawyers he put together who came and made a meaningful, constructive contribution to this amendment and suggested that this be put in, Mr. Speaker, and we accepted it.